A man walked into a bar looking sad, and the bartender asked him, "What's the matter?" The man said, "My wife and I had a fight, and she told me she wasn't going to speak to me for a month. And the month is up today."
Yeah.
The skeleton walks into a bar and says, "Give me a beer and a mop." This fly walks into a bar, walks up to a woman sitting at the bar and says, "I like that stool you're sitting on."
Ew.
Ew. A Frenchman walks into a bar. He has a parrot in his shoulder, and the parrot is wearing a baseball cap. The bartender says, "Hey, that's neat. Where did you get that?" And the parrot says, "France, they've got millions of them there." "Hey, bartender, pour me a cold one." Go on, kid. You want to get me in trouble?" "Maybe later. Right now, I just want a beer." An anteater walks into a bar and says that he'd like a drink. "Okay," says the bartender. "How about a beer?" "No," replies the anteater. "Oh, then how about a gin and tonic?" "No." "A martini?" "No." Finally, the bartender gets fed up and says, "Hey, buddy, if you don't mind me asking, why the long nose?" A pair of jumper cables walked into a bar and asked for a drink. The bartender said, "Okay, but I don't want you starting anything in here." So there was this dyslexic guy who walked into a bra.
Oh, yeah.
Charles Dickens walks into a bar and orders a martini. The bartender asks, "Olive or twist?"
No.
Olive or twist. Olive or twist. Okay.
I got it.
Yeah.
You don't need to.
A blind man walked. Yeah. Oh, that's what happens when you can't read good, you know. I need to focus my eye sockets. A blind man walks into a bar, grabs his dog by its hind legs, and swings him around in a circle. The bartender says, "Hey, buddy, what are you doing?" The blind man says, "Don't mind me. I'm just looking around." Into the bar comes a grasshopper, and the bartender says, "Hey, you've got a drink named right after you." And the grasshopper says, "Is that right? Why would anybody name a drink Bob?" Well, a horse walks into a bar, and the bartender says, "Why the long face?" That's old. Oh, that's old.
That's an old one, yeah.
Yeah. Two ropes go into a bar. The bartender says, "Get out of here. We don't serve ropes in here." The ropes go outside, and one says to the other, "I have an idea." He ties himself up, messes up his hair, and goes back in. The bartender says, "Hey, no ropes." The rope says, "I'm not a rope." The bartender says, "You're not a rope?" "No," he says, "I'm afraid not." I'm afraid not.
Good one.
Two guys were walking their dogs. One had a German Shepherd and the other one had a Chihuahua. The man with the Shepherd suggested going into the bar for a drink. The other man says, "They're not going to let dogs into this bar." And the first guy says, "No, watch this." He puts on some dark glasses, acts like the German Shepherd's a seeing eye dog, walks into the bar and orders a drink. No one says anything. So the second guy takes out some dark glasses, slips them on, and walks his Chihuahua into the bar. The bartender says, "Sorry, we don't allow dogs in here." And the man says, "It's okay, it's my seeing eye dog." The bartender laughs and says, "This Chihuahua is your seeing eye dog?" And the guy says, "They gave me a Chihuahua?" A cowboy walks into the bar and asks for a whiskey. Suddenly, another cowboy rushes in and yells, Joe, hurry up, your house is on fire." The cowboy runs to the door and then stops and thinks, "Hey, I ain't got no house." The cowboy sits back down and drinks his whiskey. Suddenly, another cowboy runs into the bar shouting, Joe, hurry up, your father's dying. The cowboy jumps up, runs out, jumps on his horse, and then remembers, I ain't got no father. He gets back to the bar, and he sits down and finishes his drink, and another cowboy bursts in yelling, Joe, hurry up. You won the lottery, and there's $1 million for you at the post office. The cowboy jumps to his feet, runs out of the bar, jumps on his horse, gallops to the post office, dashes in, and then he says, hey, my name ain't Joe. A guy comes in with a frog in his head, and the bartender says, where did you get that? And the frog says, it started out as a little bump on my ass. More?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
I ain't got no more.
Oh, I got a whole book full. This guy walks into a pub and he sits down and he says, give me 2 beers. Rough day at work. And the bartender says, oh, what do you do? The guy says, I take care of the corgis. You know, the dogs for the royal family owns, them little doggies. Bartender says, tough job, huh? The guy says, well, all that inbreeding has led to low intelligence and bad temperament. And the dogs aren't that smart either. Now, a brain goes into a bar and says to the bartender, I'll have a pint, please. The bartender says, sorry, I can't serve you. You're out of your head. You're out of your head. I can't serve you. You out of your head. Now, this guy walks into a bar and has a drink. And he looks in his pocket. Then he orders another drink. He looks in his pocket and orders another drink. Looks in his pocket and orders another drink. Looks in his pocket and so on. The bartender says, what are you doing? What's in your pocket? And the guy says, it's a picture of me wife. When she starts looking good to me, that's when I know it's time to go home. A man goes into a bar and says, give me a drink before the trouble starts. The bartender gives him a drink. He drinks it and says, give me another drink before the trouble starts. He downs that one and says, give me another drink before the trouble starts. He drinks that and says, give me another drink before the trouble starts. And the bartender says, when's this trouble gonna start? The man says, the trouble starts as soon as you realize that I ain't got no money. A tourist goes into a bar and there's a dog sitting in a chair playing poker. He says, is that dog really playing poker? And the bartender says, yeah, but he ain't too good. Whenever he has a good hand, he starts wagging his tail. A pork chop goes into a bar and orders a drink. The bartender says, hey, look, sorry, we don't serve food here. Wait a minute, I think it's high tech.
What?
I gotta just kill some of that background noise. When this cowboy walks into a bar and he orders a beer, his hat is made of brown wrapping paper, his shirt and vest are made of wax paper, and his chaps, pants, and boots are made of paper. His spurs are made of tissue paper. Pretty soon, they arrest him for rustling.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. René Descartes is in a bar. At last call, the bartender asked him if he like another drink. Descartes says, I think not. And he disappears. A man walks into a bar. There's a beautiful woman sitting at the bar, and they sit and they have a drink together. She leans over and says, I want you to make me feel like a real woman. So he takes off his jacket and says, I need this ironed.